Endorphins are like our inner joy. And so that's where we just feel comfy, like in our own skin. And so when you don't have enough endorphins, you just feel really unsettled, really ungrounded. You're really emotional, very sensitive to like criticism. You're more sensitive to pain. So if you stub your toe, you feel it from head to toe as opposed to just in your toe. Like you just are extra sensitive to everything. And then you're seeking food, you're seeking substances or exercise or something to give you that comfort. Welcome to Take Back My Brain with Lori Hammer, where real healing starts in the brain. I'm Lori, a functional nutritionist and mom who's walked the path from anxiety and burnout to clarity and calm. Each week, we're going to dive into brain-based tools like amino acid therapy, gut health, fasting, and faith to help you reclaim your energy, emotions, and sense of self.
All right, well, here I am with Lori Hammer, nutritional therapy practitioner. And Lori, how did you get involved with nutrition therapy and amino acids?
Oh gosh, that was a long time ago. Way back in 1996, I was struggling with an eating disorder, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and all those things. And I was trying to figure out how to stop all of that. And nothing was working. And I was in nursing school at the time, and I had a professor that sent me an article on amino acid therapy and food cravings and how that can eliminate those. And so I called out to this place in Mill Valley, California, and they said, yeah, come out. It's an outpatient program. I couldn't get into inpatient programs because I wasn't suicidal enough and my weight wasn't low enough. So I needed to find something else. Anyway, so I went out to this place called Recovery Systems in California, and it saved my life. They found out that I was definitely addicted to what I was eating. So I was sensitive to what I was eating. So all the gluten, all the dairy that I was binging and purging on, I was super sensitive to. I had celiac disease, thyroid issues. And then most importantly, they tested some amino acids on me, and that stopped the craving cycle. And it lifted my anxiety, lifted the depression off, and it literally saved my life. And so that was my first introduction to functional nutrition, which wasn't called functional nutrition back then.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got your own pain to purpose story. Let's
Yeah.
talk about some of the neurotransmitters. So you said that they did some testing, right? And so what did they
Mhm.
find with that testing?
So I was low in serotonin, GABA, my catecholamines were low, endorphins, like everything across the board that really affects your mood. I was low in all of those things, and I had a lot of glucose regulation issues.
Yeah, so blood sugar dysregulation. How
Mhm.
does that impact the brain?
Well, if your blood sugar goes up and down, your brain gets depleted very, very quickly, and you can't think. You get depressed, you get anxious. It affects all of your cognition, and your brain can't repair or detox.
Yeah, it's a major stressor on your body, so it
Yes.
just meets all your systems. And so what do you recommend for stabilizing blood sugar? I would imagine that's kind of, you know, when you talk about like the hierarchy of needs for your brain, that's got to be near the top. So what do you recommend for your clients as far as a blood sugar stabilizing nutrition plan?
Yeah, definitely. We've got to get enough protein in. Most people don't eat enough protein and don't eat enough healthy fats. So get the bad fats out, good fats in. Bump your protein up. I usually have to double protein for everyone in order for their brain to stay stable. And then we use, some amino acids. I love using glutamine that helps with glucose regulation and, other nutritional supplements. But dietary is always foundation, getting enough sleep, movement, all those things to keep your glucose stable.
Yeah, that's so key. Now let's talk about how you incorporate the amino acids and why that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe that when we balance the brain first, everything below the neck gets easier to deal with. And so when people come to me, almost 100% of the time, we're using amino acids. So I have an assessment that I do on people that concentrates on 5 areas: serotonin, GABA, endorphins, your catecholamines, and then glucose. And so we assess those. It's a form that you fill out, so it's all symptom based. And then based on that, we try different amino acids. And in the first appointment that people have with me, we actually take an amino acid, say tryptophan, open it up, put it underneath your tongue, wait a couple minutes, we stare at each other awkwardly, and then see if your body responds to it. And oftentimes it does. And so by the end of that first appointment, we know which amino acids your body's going to respond to, what's going to lift your depression, what's going to help with that anxiety, ADD, OCD, and then we move on from there. So that's the first introduction.
So the amino acids, you basically open them under the tongue so they get some sublingual absorption into the bloodstream, and
Right.
they're real fast acting.
That is correct. Yeah, it's within 2 to 5 minutes, you'll notice a difference.
And the way that you know if somebody is in need of that is that they notice a difference. Like if they just don't notice a difference, would that be a sign that that was not the right amino
Yeah,
acid?
usually that's a sign that's not the right one. Sometimes there's a medication interference if people are on, a few medications, they may not feel anything because they're so numbed, but most of the time we'll just start with people what they respond to and then go from there.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Now, there are a lot of clients I'm sure that come into you and they're doing a lot of different things. They've been doing, liver cleanses or detoxes, diet, taking a bunch of supplements, but they still will feel anxious, fatigued. I'm sure you see this all the time.
Mhm.
Why do amino acid deficiencies, why do they often block progress even in advanced functional protocols?
Well, because they're foundational to everything. Amino acids are needed from head to toe. So your neurotransmitters have to have amino acids in order to function. Your enzymes, your digestive process, your hormones, everything is dependent upon those amino acids. And so if you're deficient in those, I don't really care if you have MTHFR or anything else. You have to address the foundations first.
Yeah, and so when you're looking at different neurotransmitters, what are the main ones that you're testing, like on your questionnaires and
Yeah.
and using the amino acid therapy?
So the main one would be serotonin. So we're working on that. GABA, your endorphins, your catecholamines, which includes glutamine, or I mean dopamine, and then glucose regulation.
Yeah. So serotonin, are you testing that with tryptophan or 5-HTP? And is there a difference? Uh,
Yeah, so I like to start with tryptophan because that converts into lots of different things in the body, so your body can use that more efficiently. If people don't respond to tryptophan, then I'll try 5-HTP because that just converts into serotonin.
right. And what are some of the main roles of serotonin in the body? What are some of the symptoms that somebody might be deficient in serotonin?
Well, anxiety, depression, OCD, PMS, you have a hard time getting to sleep or staying to sleep at night. Afternoon or evening cravings, most people don't realize that when you have some weird phobias that you can't get over, hyperactivity in the brain where you just can't stick to a thought. Most people think that's ADD or ADHD, but that can be a serotonin deficiency as well.
Hmm. Okay. Yep. And then how about GABA? So GABA is kind of like the brakes in the brain, right? In the
Right.
brain, we've got kind of a gas pedal, like glutamate would be a gas pedal neurotransmitter. And then the brakes is GABA, right? Helps stop it. We need both. We need to be able to put
We
the
do.
airplane, but we also need the brakes, right? To slow
Right.
us down time. So what are some of the main symptoms of a GABA deficiency?
That you just don't relax. You feel overwhelmed all the time. You feel like just kind of the whole world's coming in on you. So GABA just lets us go, just take that deep breath and let it roll off. It's kind of when you have enough GABA, you respond appropriately to stress. When you are deficient in GABA, you're biting people's heads off, right? You're reacting inappropriately. It doesn't match the stressor.
Now, I know for women also that progesterone, right, which is key hormone that we secrete particularly in higher amounts in the luteal phase or
Hmm.
the second 14 days of the menstrual cycle is really critical for GABA production. It's a GABA agonist. And women, as they're going into either if they're really stressed in the second half of their cycle, or if they are going into perimenopause and menopause, oftentimes see a big drop in progesterone levels, and
Hmm.
that can play a role with that anxiety. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I do see that. I wouldn't say it always correlates. So sometimes, when I'm doing like a Dutch test or something, or they come to me with blood work, their progesterone looks good, but they're still deficient in GABA. So it doesn't necessarily always mean a correlation, but it is a factor for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not always a factor, but if it is low, then that can contribute
Hmm.
to the GABA level.
Definitely.
Now, how about dopamine? What are you looking at? What are some of the main symptoms with dopamine?
A lot of apathetic depression. You just don't care or you don't have a lot of drive. Low mental energy, low physical energy. those ADD, ADHD symptoms, craving things for focus or for energy, whether that would be caffeine or, something else to raise those levels. And just feeling super scattered all the time.
So not able to focus, but also not driven and motivated either.
Correct.
Kind of combination. Yep.
Mhm.
How about you had mentioned endorphins. So what are some of the symptoms of an endorphin deficiency?
Oh, endorphins are like our inner joy. And so that's where we just feel comfy, like in our own skin. And so when you don't have enough endorphins, you just feel really unsettled, really ungrounded. You're really emotional, very sensitive to like criticism. You're more sensitive to pain. So if you stub your toe, you feel it from head to toe as opposed to just in your toe. Like you just are extra sensitive to everything. And then you're seeking food, you're seeking substances or exercise or something to give you that comfort. Hey, friend, just a quick break to remind you if calming your brain is the missing piece in your practice or in your home, my Mind Thrive certification course teaches you exactly how to do that with targeted amino acid therapy. So it's real science, real results, no band aids. Enrollment is now open. Link is in the show notes. So back to the show.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, especially the pain. We release a lot of endorphins when we're laughing, for example,
Hmm.
or when we're exercising. Okay, we'll also release endorphins. In fact, that's what gives us the quote unquote runner's high, right?
Right.
It's the endorphin release that we're getting. But people that are endorphin deficient, right? Oftentimes doing high intensity exercise is actually really bad for them because they're already
They're already depleted.
overstressed.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really key. So the main things that you're looking at are GABA, serotonin, dopamine or catecholamines in general. And that you mentioned dopamine, but I guess it could also relate to adrenaline,
Correct.
and then endorphins.
That is correct.
Now, what patterns are you typically seeing? Is there a particular neurotransmitter that people tend to be more deficient in than others? And are there certain combinations that you're seeing typically?
Typically, I see serotonin. That seems to be the first one that gets depleted. I think is because we just don't utilize it very well. People have a lot of digestive issues, so breaking down serotonin is hard for people. And I would say serotonin and GABA together, so both of those deficiencies. But it kind of just depends on the person and what's going on. But women in general, I would say serotonin and GABA deficiency.
Serotonin and GABA. And what are the big root cause factors that you're seeing driving those deficiencies?
Oh, diet is huge. So just a poor diet, not eating enough protein, not having good healthy fats, sleep. I mean, we've decided that sleep isn't important in our society. So if you can't sleep, you can't heal, and that will drain your neurotransmitters faster than anything else. So diet and sleep, lack of sunshine, just getting outside in that early morning sun, getting outside midday, trying to get outside, at night at sunset. Just those basic things I think are huge. And then we just got environmental toxins. People who have been, received some jabs or, they're just putting things in their body and in their homes. They just haven't detoxed themselves or detoxed their homes well. So I think all of those factors together just create a depleted state for most people.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously we talked about in the beginning, you're starting with good nutrition, getting them doubling their protein, getting healthy fats on board. I'm sure colorful fruits and vegetables, things like that. A more of a real food-based diet,
Yes.
prioritizing good sleep, circadian rhythm. Is there anything else that you're getting people started with on your initial plan?
Yeah, changing your mindsets. I mean, God created our minds to kind of dictate our health, right? So if we have poor thoughts, we have poor health. So it's just helping people realize who they were created to be and shifting that mindset, which is always helpful.
Yeah, that's key. And then you start implementing these different amino acids, right? What kind of results are you seeing utilizing the amino acids?
Oh man, I see so many amazing results. And like I said, people get to experience that in that first appointment. It's like, because they work so fast, right? So within a week or so, people are like, oh my goodness, like this weight has lifted off my chest, the anxiety lifts, the depression lifts. I get people on medications all the time, when they come to me. And so we're able to get people off those medications, with the help of their prescribing doc, of course. But it's just great to see people actually be able to feel again, because people come, they're so numbed and they've been numbed for years. They've been on meds for 15, 20, 25 years. And so just seeing people to start to enjoy life again. I have spouses will call during the appointment or come to the appointment and they're like, thank you so much because I have my wife back or I have my husband back. Or, I had a kid the other day. He just wasn't sleeping. The amino acids helped him sleep through the night. He hadn't slept in 7 years through the night. His parents were tired, right? We did the amino acids and all of a sudden he starts sleeping again. That's life changing for everybody in the family.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And so, yeah, these amino acids are fast acting, which is great. I know I use them with my wife, right? So
Hmm.
she responds really well to GABA. So I give her,
Awesome.
a form of GABA and she notices it relaxes her, right? Helps her sleep better. I mean, she notices it really, really quickly, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, these things work really, really well. And what are like if somebody comes in, let's say they're GABA deficient, where do you start your dosage? Is there a particular type of GABA you like to use? And what would be like a starting dosage?
Anywhere from like 250 to 500 milligrams, generally speaking. That's why we test to see what people need. Some people need 2000 milligrams. I mean, some people they just need more than others, but start low, work your way up to decide what you need.
And how do you generally test with that?
So that's just sublingual underneath the tongue. We
So
just
just
figure out what.
basically giving them the dose that they start
Mhm.
to feel the relaxation.
Correct. And then I dose that anywhere from 2 to 4 times a day for people.
Yeah. And the good thing is like with GABA, it's not like if you take it, you are going to sometimes people think these things are like drugs.
Right.
And even magnesium, like I've had people, we have a product called Brain Calm Magnesium. People
Yes.
think that if they take it during the day, they think they're going to get sleepy. And I'm like, no, it's not like that.
No.
Calm brain during the day actually is a focused brain.
Mm-hmm.
And at night, when your circadian rhythm sets in, your melatonin's released, and that calm brain now becomes tired and ready to
Tired.
sleep.
Yeah. Well, and I think people mix those two things up too, because I'll ask people, how you're feeling. They're like, oh man, I feel tired. I'm like, is it really tired or is it relaxed? And people don't feel relaxed till they forget what that feeling is and the ability to distinguish between, oh no, the supplement's making me tired, or the supplement is actually relaxing me and my body is supposed to be relaxed so that it can focus and do what it's designed to do.
Yeah, that's key. And also, if you are very sleep deprived,
Yeah,
feeling sleepy actually is what your body needs to do.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I was looking at your website that you really specialize in helping moms, right? And
Hmm.
I've got 4 young kids, so I get it. I talk to my wife every day, and that having young kids can definitely be stressful and draining.
Yes.
There are a lot of moms that are out there that are dealing with anxiety, a lot of these types of issues.
Hmm.
And so, what are you seeing with the moms that you're taking care of?
Yeah, and there's burnt out. One, because they're not getting enough sleep. I mean, of course, you have 4 children, you're not going to get the most amazing amount of sleep. But the goal is that we get you quality sleep when you do get it. And the amino acids do help with that. But it's just, you know, the amino acids just help to build the body back up, to build that brain back up so that you have a calm presence so that when you're deficient and your brain is running on empty all the time, you're stuck in overdrive, you get on this hamster wheel, right? You get on this hamster wheel and this the constant depletion, and you never are able to get off of it. And so the amino acids are a key piece in helping people get off that hamster wheel so that they can be present with their kids. So they still find their husband attractive, so they can go out and do things with other people and don't want to just stay home all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Now, when you're working with somebody that's serotonin depleted, how do you start the supplementation? You try tryptophan first, 5-HTP. I think you mentioned tryptophan.
Hmm.
And then what are the dosages that you're looking at?
Yeah. So again, we're doing the sublingual. So what dose do they respond to? So I start with tryptophan first. Most people, you need 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams of tryptophan 2 to 4 times a day to keep their mood stable for, 3 to 6 months. And then after that, they just kind of use it as needed. Each individual is a little bit different, but that's pretty typical.
Yeah. And then with dopamine, how are you addressing that?
Yeah, so I start with tyrosine most of the time, and it's also good for your thyroid. So most people respond to tyrosine. If not, I'll use D-L-phenylalanine or L-phenylalanine to help with that. And again, probably 500 to 1,500 milligrams 2 to 4 times a day, depending on the person.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, have you used anything like a phosphatidylcholine,
Hmm.
uh, omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, some of these other beneficial compounds for the brain.
Absolutely. So I use those all the time. I like the phosphocholine, the phosphatidylserine. I love the omegas, magnesium, mineral. I teach a lot of people. I mean, we're using salt all the time. Really good salt is amazing. It's like little spark plugs for the brain. So just getting in those foundational, fats, minerals, vitamins, all those, the protein.
Yeah, because so many people are really actually deficient and depleted in a lot of these minerals, trace minerals,
Yeah.
electrolyte. Yeah. So these are
Dehydrated. Hmm.
oh, totally. Chronically dehydrated, absolutely. Yeah, so these are big factors. Now, do you recommend, you mentioned sun, do you recommend light, like in your protocols, like whether it's like red light or infrared or anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think all of those are wonderful adjunct therapies. I think they're super important. I mean, it's super cloudy here, so I'm going to go outside, but I'm not going to get a whole lot of quality sunlight. So I'll turn on my red light, turn on my therapy light.
Yeah, that's so good. I try to get in the sauna 4 to 5 days a week.
Hmm.
100 minutes a week is always my goal. It doesn't always happen, but that's always my goal, to get that really positive infrared light, support the mitochondria. So I think that's
Absolutely.
yeah. All right. And then, yeah, so you're seeing these great results with people utilizing the amino acid therapies. And we talked about the dopamine, serotonin, GABA. How about endorphins? What are you doing to help support endorphins?
So mainly D-phenylalanine. So it's DPA. And again, 500 to 1500 milligrams, 2 to 4 times a day is good for most people if they respond to it. But that can make a profound difference for people just feeling good about who they are.
Yeah, for sure. So when somebody comes in, they fill out a questionnaire that kind of gives you a hint towards
Hmm.
which neurotransmitter to try first,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And then you go ahead, you do sublingual amino acids until you see basically what dosage that
A
person
response.
needs, where they
Hmm.
where they start to notice that they feel better.
Correct.
And then how do you set up their protocol, like as far as that goes? Based on that dosage, let's say it took 1,000 milligrams of GABA and they felt significantly better. Do you now have them take, like, do you split the dosage? Do you have them take 1,000? How do you go about setting that up?
Yeah, so I have them take 1,000 at a time. Usually it's 2 to 4 times a day. And we'll do the same. If they responded to tryptophan, we'll do the same thing. Tryptophan, probably 1,000 milligrams, 2 to 4 times a day. So you're taking some good supplementation for a little bit, but it's going to rebuild that brain. It's going to rebuild the neurotransmitters and help you feel better. Then your gut protocols and all those other things work better when the brain is calmer. So that's how we deal with that. I'll add magnesium and the omegas and minerals and all those things in as well.
Yeah. And it makes sense. You're addressing the brain first. So you're helping create a state of calm in the brain. When the brain is stressed and overwhelmed, response in the body. And when you're in fight or flight or some sort of panic response, your body's not wired to heal in that state.
No. No, you're
Right?
stuck in that danger response, yeah.
Yeah. Are you doing anything for them to help activate vagal tone as well? Activate the vagus nerve.
Yeah, so I do have some devices I like to use. One of them is the DNA Vibe. That's one of my favorites for the vagal tone. But we might do some exercises or I'll refer them to somebody who can really help them with that if it's pretty severe. But the amino acids just calming the body helps with the vagal tone. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, Lori, sounds like you're doing really, really great work. Did we miss anything here today? I know we talked a lot about your strategies as far as nutrition, lifestyle, getting good sun exposure, sleep, right? All the things that, I'm talking about all the time on my podcast, that
Mhm.
the foundational things that you just can't get, you can't overlook those things. And then really getting on these amino acids and figuring out which of these amino acids is going to be most beneficial for you and getting the right dosage as far as that goes. And obviously, you're seeing great results with this on a regular
Mhm.
basis. Many other practitioners are as well. You've been doing this a long time. Is there anything else we missed that that our listeners really need to hear with this interview?
Well, I think they really need to hear, because mental health is such a huge issue right now, and people are over medicated with SSRIs, ADHD meds, all those kind of things. And the amino acids are an amazing alternative to those.
Mm,
And it helps people to wean off those medications without issues. There's so much protracted withdrawal going on right now with the SSRIs, so many issues out there. So I just want to encourage people that there are other alternatives out there, and amino acid therapy is huge for, I would say, replacing those medications and then rebuilding your brain, rebuilding your body so that you don't need that anymore.
Yeah, so when you start giving the so when somebody does come in and they're on these medications, obviously, as you start them on these lifestyle principles as well as the amino acids, you tell them to go back and start working on a weaning strategy
Mhm.
with their prescribing doctor, and how does that usually work?
Usually it works really well. I mean, most doctors, there's only been a few over the years that are like, yeah, I'm not working with you. So we just find another one. But most docs are like, yeah, I don't really want you on these meds either. And so you need to have somebody who knows how to wean you off well. And then we just start. The only one you really have to worry about is when people are on an SSRI with tryptophan or 5-HTP. We're just really careful about how we dose that and when we dose that for people so that they can wean off of those as well. But the rest of the amino acids, there's a few precautions, but not very many in regards to medication withdrawal. So it just helps that process become so much easier so that you're not feeling like this outer body experience when you taper off all these meds. Because a lot of people get anxious, they'll get flu-like symptoms. They get the protracted withdrawal where they're super anxious again. And so the amino acids help those things not to happen.
Yeah, how about diazepines as well?
Those are huge.
They're highly addictive. So is there a certain strategy you take, like a certain protocol or a certain strategy you take with people that are coming in with those?
Yeah, so those need to be weaned off super slow. So we really need to work with their doctor on those. But GABA is super helpful with weaning off the benzodiazepines, tryptophan, tyrosine. So just creating that protocol that fits best for that particular person. So I want to make it very personalized, but you can get off those as well.
Now, do you start with a lower dosage if they're on these medications and then gradually increase if it makes them feel well while they're decreasing their medication dosage? Kind of what is your philosophy and how do you practice this form of art with somebody that's on
Yeah.
medication?
Well, and it is art. So we'll use SSRIs, for example. So if somebody takes their SSRIs in the morning, we won't do any tryptophan or 5-HTP for at least 6 hours after that. And then the dose is again, like you're saying, we dose smaller and increase. So we'll start with that lower dose and then increase as they're able. And then once they're off that medication, then we can do the tryptophan or 5-HTP all day long and really fix that deficiency.
Yes, really great work because there are so many people that are on these medications, and most of the time, these things can be turned around with lifestyle, nutrition, and these amino acids. And so, if you've got kids that you're worried about with perhaps hyperactive disorders, start with the things that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Getting them on good nutrition, good sleep habits, good circadian rhythm, and then look at Lori's website, lorihammer.com. You know, if you can avoid taking these medications to begin with, it's always that much easier. You can address a lot
Yeah.
of these symptoms through lifestyle and amino acids and different supplements. That way you don't develop that dependency to begin with. But if you are taking these medications or somebody you love is taking these medications, there is a path out of it. It's a little bit of a slower grind, right?
It
But
is.
but there is hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I share a story of a client I've recently had? So I had a young lady who came to me on 5 different medications, and she had been on them since she was 12 years old. And so she was on ADHD meds, SSRIs, other mood meds, things to combat, all of the side effects and stuff that were on there. So she came to me on 5 of them. It took us 10 months for her to get off all 5 medications, but now she can actually feel. She's 35 years old, and she's like, "I've never been able to feel all the feels." And, she ran a marathon, her hormones are balanced, like, she just feels good, and she looks totally different. I wish I could show you a before and after picture because she came to me feeling so forlorn, so bedraggled, so, like, just disheartened. And now she's just this vibrant, beautiful woman who's, figuring out life. Is everything perfect for her? She's still struggling. Like, I don't even know what to do with this emotion, but she's learning how to deal with those things. And she's in counseling and, doing all those other things, but she's finding out who she is. And it's just beautiful to watch. So she's a pretty extreme case, coming to me on 5 medications, but it's turned out beautiful for her.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm sure you're seeing stuff like that on a regular basis. So
Hmm.
that's fantastic. Guys, you can check out Lori's website. She's got a lot of great information there. And again, she created the Calm Mom Method, which is a proven approach to help moms manage anxiety, restore energy, and live with purpose. So it is lorihammer.com. Definitely check out her website. And of course, I know you work with people that aren't just moms. That just happens to
Correct.
be where you have your personal testimony. And
Correct.
also, many moms are dealing with a lot of these issues: anxiety, depression, um, not able to feel like you talked about,
Mhm.
like, kind of issues, and they don't have to suffer like that. We can make
Right.
some changes, change their lifestyle, get their blood sugar balance, optimize their sleep, get them on some of these amino acids, and they'll start really noticing the benefits.
Absolutely.
Well, great, Lori. This has been a wonderful interview, and you're helping so many people out there. So I just want to encourage you to keep doing that. You're doing great work. Any last words of inspiration here for our audience?
When you just remove the interference, your body can heal. And I feel amino acids are part of that. And God created our bodies to heal. So we just have to give it all the right stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thanks so much, Lori. Guys, again, check out her website, lorihammer.com, and you can start taking back control of your health today. Be blessed, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Take Back My Brain. If today's episode helped you connect with hope or direction, I want you to follow the show, leave us a review, and share it with someone who needs it. And if you're ready to start your own healing journey, explore our courses and our coaching programs at lorihammer.com/store. So until next time, remember, you cannot medicate away a nutrient deficiency, and healing your brain isn't just possible, it's powerful.